This is the Nintendo 3DS, only the greatest console of the mid-2010s. I mean, what is there not to like? You have the amazing 3D graphics, you've got classic video games such as Super Mario 3D Land, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and don't forget Paper Mario Sticker Star. Plus, it's got backwards compatibility with every single Nintendo DS game. I don't know if I could ever live without my 3DS. I mean, let's just see what Nintendo has to say about it. After a generation that was the success of the Nintendo DS, Nintendo decided to release its predecessor, the Nintendo 3DS, introducing glasses-free 3D. In 2011, my parents gifted me the glossy red model, and boy did I cherish this thing. I've always really liked the design of the 3DS. I found it very sleek and decently comfortable to hold. Besides the 3D, the biggest new feature to the Nintendo 3DS layout would have to be the circle pad. Although it still confuses me to this day as to why they didn't add a second circle pad under the A, B, and XY buttons. I mean, they had plenty of room under there. But overall, the layout for the Nintendo 3DS was actually quite nice and quite preferable for most games. It wouldn't be until 2015 we would get a remodel with the new Nintendo 3DS. They added some basic features that people felt were missing, as well as moving the game cartridge and stylus to the bottom of the 3DS, a new and improved 3DS display, as well as what I would assume to be what their solution is for people asking for a second circle pad. Although it kind of blows. Along with my 3DS came its feature title, Super Mario 3D Land. This was the game everyone was going to be talking about. This was the game that really showed off the 3D feature to its fullest, along with its excellent game design and fluent control scheme. Although it may not have been as original as many of its other Mario games, it was still an excellent entry for the 3DS, and was definitely a main factor to its uprise in sales. I played this game so much when I was younger. I probably got to 100% completion in 3 different runs. It was basically your standard Mario game, except being somewhat 3D in the way as it's not quite open world and is much more linear in design. It had 8 worlds for you to go through, as well as an extra 8 worlds after you unlock Luigi, and then a bonus crown world for you to play through. Overall, it was just a genuinely fun Mario game. When it comes to Mario games, the most controversial one would have to go to Paper Mario Sticker Star. An incoming hot take, I think the game's good. Although, from the response that the game's received from the majority of players, it almost just feels like they were handed the wrong game. Mario Golf? Paper Mario Sticker Star. This was my very first introduction into the Paper Mario franchise, and I think it was a pretty decent game. Although others may disagree with me, and consider the game to be pretty shallow, not true to the original, or the franchise in general. And after eventually playing through Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, as well as Paper Mario 64, I can confirm I still feel the same way as I did back then. I personally believe the story wasn't that bad, and the core gameplay was pretty solid. But the core feature that really brought this game its own personality was the stickers. You could find these laying around anywhere pretty much. You could grab them, add them into your inventory, and then fight enemies that you would find along the way. There were even realistic objects you could find and turn into stickers that really gave you a special ability in your battles, and in some instances you were required to do so to progress through the game. I always found this characteristic to be pretty silly and funny, and really added some good quirkiness and personality to Sticker Star. Although I can definitely understand why some people will just find this as a gimmick, but I definitely don't agree with it being called bottom of the barrel or trash in general, as it's a pretty solid game and it seemed to do pretty well in sales for the Nintendo 3DS. Although there was one game that would truly skyrocket the 3DS's popularity: Smash Bros. For the 3DS. Smash Bros. Became the best-selling game for the 3DS for pretty obvious reasons. I mean, in the past, you've had to play Smash Bros. On the main consoles, such as the Nintendo 64 or the GameCube, and now you had access to it on the go with the Nintendo 3DS. That by itself already made this a huge win for Nintendo. What about the game itself? The game included pretty much everything you would expect from a mainline Smash Bros. Game. A huge character roster, plenty of maps to play on, a party mode and an online mode, a single player mode, and also having a StreetPass game mode. A big thing Nintendo tried to push with this launch was using your 3DS as a controller for the Wii U version. Anybody who owned Smash Bros. On the 3DS could play on the Wii U using their 3DS. Or you could get the application to play with your DS on the eShop. Although I'm not very sure how many people actually used this. Smash Bros. For the 3DS was actually the very first entry to get DLC support, with its announcement of Mewtwo joining the game. After the super successful launch of Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, along with Mario Kart 7 and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, as well as future support for emulation of older Nintendo games. Players were finally seeing the Nintendo 3DS as a viable option for playing some of their favorite games. But this game library wasn't the only new exclusives being brought to the 3DS, as there would be a brand new feature brought to the console known as StreetPass. This was a feature to encourage players to go out and play with their friends, as well as bring their 3DS on their travels. Basically, if you pass by another 3DS owner carrying their 3DS with them, you would get a little green notification letting you know that someone has stopped by in the Mii Plaza. Their Mii would introduce themselves, and you could use their character to help you in certain games in the Mii Plaza, or they could challenge you in your other games such as Smash Bros, or they could help you and benefit you in games such as Super Mario 3D Land or giving you extra power-ups. It was a neat little gimmick to the 3DS, and I didn't really think much more of it, as that's really all it was. Along with the 3DS launch came the introduction to the Nintendo eShop. This had everything you could ask for. You had games, you had demos, you had updates, you had videos. There was nothing you couldn't find on the Nintendo eShop that you wanted to play. It was extremely handy for people who didn't want to go out of their way and buy a game in store and just quickly download a game. And what made this more awesome was when they brought Virtual Console to the eShop. You can now download games from NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, and even Game Boy Color. The Nintendo eShop did very well and was implemented also with the Wii U, as well as the Nintendo Switch later on. Overall, I think the 3DS did really well within its lifespan, and I think it's one of the best consoles of the mid-2010s in my opinion. And ever since I saw that Nintendo discontinued the 3DS, I made sure to grab myself a new Nintendo 3DS XL so I could preserve these classic games. And also seeing the news about Nintendo shutting down the eShop in 2023, I think it's more important than ever that people get a chance to play some of these amazing games. As the 3DS is one of the hardest consoles to emulate, and I don't see it getting any easier in the future. I believe people should try to get their hands on one of these consoles before it's too late and just becomes another forgotten collector's item that Nintendo just left in the dust. Alright, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to see more content just like this. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.